I am understanding more and more, and I am agreeing more and more. Sometimes you say things because you think, you know, quick fixes sometimes work, but not in something like this. It's much more involved than, you know, let's just go into Iraq and we'll take over and we'll change the whole regime and we'll give them our laws and we'll tell them how to do it because we know how to do it. That isn't the way to do it.
I believe that we will find the truth, and the truth is he was developing a program for weapons of mass destruction.
Do you agree, and does it matter whether or not you find those weapons?
We might ask the Prime Minister that. We won't be proven wrong. Our people are going to find out the truth, and the truth will say that this intelligence is good intelligence, no doubt in my mind.
This war on terrorism is bogus. Michael Meacher, a former minister of Tony Blair, has not minced his words since he resigned. And since no representative of the American administration is interested in answering Ellen's questions, Michael Meacher is more than willing to oblige.
Do you think that September 11th could have been prevented?
I don't think for a second that the US government knew that the Twin Towers were going to be attacked. I don't believe that. But what I do believe is that they knew that something quite big was being planned, and they had other political objectives, notably in respect of Iraq. And it is perhaps the case that if something like that happened, and it would be quickly overpowered using special forces, then that would give what is called a casus belli, a good justification for the American government to carry through plans which it already had, particularly in respect of Iraq. The best reason to explain the actions of the American government since President Bush came to power at the end of the year 2000 is, first of all, the Project for the New America Century document, and it's a pretty chilling document in my view. And what it says is, irrespective of whatever happens to Saddam Hussein, yes, we'd like to get rid of him, but even if he were removed from the scene, we need permanent American bases in the Middle East. It talks in this document about regime change in China and an increase in US forces in Southeast Asia. It is a very aggressive document about the need for America to lead and indeed to dominate the world. I think there was a huge admiration of America, actually, but some American policies are perceived as deeply hostile.
Ellen Saraceni is on her way to meet Anonymous, a former intelligence agent and author of a recent book on Al-Qaeda. His analysis is based on 20 years' experience with Islamist networks. He was in charge of hunting down bin Laden and was about to catch him several times, but never got the go-ahead. Today, he delivers an alarming message.
The war that bin Laden is engaged in and Al-Qaeda is engaged in is a defensive war, in the sense that our policies are perceived, and he has portrayed them as an attack on Islam. He's been arguing that for a decade, but the war in Iraq has validated to a great extent the themes of his message. For example, he's always said that the United States was eager to acquire control over Muslim energy supplies. Well, we occupy Iraq, and it's the location of the second greatest amount of energy reserves in the Islamic world. He's argued that we would destroy any Muslim government that tried to defy us. Well, we certainly destroyed Saddam's government in Iraq. He's always claimed that we would destroy any government in the Muslim world that threatened Israel. And Iraq certainly was public enemy number one for the Israelis. And perhaps most importantly, he has identified the United States as eager to annihilate the Islamic religion itself. And he's argued that the proof of that will be that the Americans will try to occupy all of our sanctities, our holy places. Now, the Arabian Peninsula is already viewed as being occupied by the Americans since the first Gulf War, and the Arabian Peninsula is the most holy place in Islam. Iraq is the second most holiest place in Islam, and we now occupy that. Jerusalem is the third most holy place in Islam, and the Israelis occupy that. So the invasion of Iraq, whatever the threat was from Saddam, has certainly, in the eyes of many Muslims, validated bin Laden's claims The country is in as much danger today as it was in 9/11 and perhaps more. We're increasingly seeing Al-Qaeda less as an organization and more as a movement. I think within a year or 2 or 3, we'll be talking about Al-Qaeda-ism rather than just Al-Qaeda. And in that sense, we've not yet begun to fight back. And as long as we deceive ourselves, we're certainly going to be on the losing end of this war.
It will only take a couple months to do the garden, but the whole park will take some time. But that's okay, because we'll have our entranceway in and then the garden in the back. I really believe that there are people in this world who just want to do harm, and they're not going to stop. And I believe that there are some people who need to stand up and take some charge and make them stop affecting people's lives. I feel very strongly about that. I don't agree or disagree necessarily on all the procedures and processes that you go through in order to achieve the end. And I hope that in the end everyone's, the changes that have occurred are going to be better, that it's not acceptable to have terrorism, and that we educate people so that they can have a better understanding of acceptance in the world.